Hello, hello, good morning, happy Thursday, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's what they say. Thursday, March 27th,
There you go.
2025, in the year of our Lord.
There you go. You are tuned in to the Ted Manila Information Show, or the TMI Show for short, where we bring you way too much information. Um, we do drop F-bombs, but that is part of the charm here.
It's a feature, not a bug.
That's right. We're live Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern time. So please be sure to hit that like button, the thumbs up, all that stuff, and follow. Or on YouTube, I think it's subscribe on YouTube and follow on Rumble, because subscribe on Rumble is only available in the live chat at the bottom,
But
which
that's
is
now,
where,
so you
right,
can do
just
that.
right now.
In fact, now's a
Right.
really good time. It's the best
Where
time.
you can
You have about
become
an
a
hour to do
monthly
it.
subscriber. Yeah. So please do that. So you can support our little independent startup here, because we literally have no jobs. Ted and I, we have no
Well,
income.
we have jobs. Yeah, we have plenty of jobs. I've never worked more in my life.
Well, I guess that's true. That's
I
fair.
mean,
That's fair.
yeah, this
We
is,
have no steady paycheck.
we're foreseeing the future, Manila. But we're doing it exactly opposite. I argued yesterday that we need to detach work from from income,
Okay.
and so we're doing that. The problem is that we have the work but not the income, and really it should be the other way around.
Yeah. Yes. We would appreciate on the Rumble side, when you do hit that subscribe button, that you do become a $5 or more monthly
If you want this to
subscriber.
keep going,
Yeah, you can
because
really
really
help.
I know we threaten that, but it really people then, like, when you do end things, they're like, but wait, you didn't,
Yeah,
yeah,
but I'm getting close, Ted. Like,
yeah,
I've been out of work. We've been out of work. We at the same time, about 6 months.
months. Yeah, it's a long time.
That's a long time. So there you go. But anyway, that's how you can help support the show. And even if it's not monetary, by clicking like
Although
and
monetary is
subscribing,
preferred.
yes, but you can help if you're not in that position. You can help us by sharing the content, by liking the content, by following and subscribing, because the numbers are there. We're getting clicks, but the viewership is there, but the follow / subscribe numbers are not in line
Yeah, you guys aren't.
with that.
You're like not. You're not willing to commit. Like, it's like you
Yeah.
all. It's kind of like you take us out, you use us up, and then throw us away like a discarded napkin, like a federal worker after a long career.
After the Trump administration comes in, like, come on. But anyway, so that said, please do hit that like button. On today's show, we've got just a handful of topics. We're going to bring in producer Robbie to discuss this one, because he's the one that brought it to our
I think he and
attention.
I are going to fight about this one.
Probably.
Well, so if you guys want to see Robbie and Ted fight, this will be it. So it's kind of a combination topic, but it's about MAGA world. And who is MAGA? I in
It's
my
only
opinion,
partly about that, really.
it's only partly
It's
about that,
about
like
dual
MAGA.
citizenship.
But dual citizenship is also a dividing point, I think, among the MAGA crowd, that I would say JD Vance has proven himself to be a true MAGA, and not Trump's MAGA. I'm referring to this in the way of as a movement, and not because these people or Vance or Thomas Massie, for example, not because they think Trump is orange Jesus. It's because they actually want to put America first. And then tangentially related to that is this new dual citizenship bill that's coming forth by way of Thomas Massie, who I like very much, that saying, all it says though, Ted, so don't hate on Thomas Massie too much. All it's saying is if you're going to run for federal office, that you should be forced to relinquish dual citizenship, that you need to commit to America. Just like you were saying, like, the viewers should commit to us a little bit. I feel like this is what Thomas Massie is saying. And that's all the bill is saying. This is not saying nobody can be dual citizens. Nobody. This is not
Not
saying
yet.
But you're saying it's a slippery slope, and I think I'm going to fall more on Robbie's side on this, at least for federal officials. If you're going to be a federal official for the United States of America, you should be wholly 100% in on this commitment of being fully American.
Well, we'll talk about this. We'll get into it.
Yeah, we will. Oh, and real quick for our friends over there on YouTube, just like with Rumble, y'all now can support this show financially. There is a follow button that you can see anywhere, anytime on the TMI Show on our YouTube page. Click on that, and then there's 3 or 4 different options that you're able to select to become a monthly subscriber to the show. And
Robbie, where on the screen is that button?
Let me jump over there real quick. Hold on one.
Because I know, like, people say, like, there's a button, and then, you know, maybe because I'm an idiot, I can't find it.
Let me jump over. Hold on. I got you.
Anyway, all right. While you're doing that, Manila,
y'all talk while I do this, and then I'll let you know, and then you do a screen share, and I will show you.
Okay, I'm gonna hit the jaws.
This is one of those days when it's one of those days. I'm trying to pull up where's the info? Where are you? Okay, here we are. Okay, here's the news. And we're going to start out with the dual citizenship topic. This is due to Representative Tom Massie. Tom Massie has announced the introduction of H.R. 2356, the so-called Dual Loyalty Disclosure Act. Representative Massie's legislation would amend the Federal Election Campaign Act in order to require anyone who's running for federal office to reveal both the fact that they have dual citizenship and also what country it is in. The disclosure of dual citizenship status would then appear publicly in the statement of candidacy that's filed whenever political candidates seek election to federal office. This is not for anything else but federal offices. Dual citizens elected to the United States Congress should renounce citizenship in all other countries, said Representative Massie, so we know where his head is at. At a minimum, they should disclose their citizenship in other countries and abstain from votes specifically benefiting those countries. If we're going to continue to allow members of Congress to acquire and retain citizenship in other countries, they should at least be required to disclose to voters all countries of which they consider themselves to be citizens. Original co-sponsors include Andy Biggs of Arizona, Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia, and Clay Higgins of Louisiana. I'll tell you, I hate this, and here's why. So this is one of those laws that, one of those bills that, on its face, there's nothing wrong with it. On its face, it's like, well, information is power. The American people, I think, deserve to have this information. I think they should know. You should know if a member of Congress is a citizen of another country. It would be useful to know that. There are several members of Congress, for example, who are citizens of Israel, and that might influence their voting. There's even images of at least one of them wearing an Israeli Army IDF uniform, right? So it's kind of like, all right, well, maybe you like that, maybe you'll vote for that, maybe you don't care and you'll vote for him regardless. But the point is that's something people ought to know. So the problem here is I see where this is going. I'm a dual national myself. My mother's born in France. I have French citizenship through her, as well as American citizenship because I was born here. So dual citizenship hangs on a very, very flimsy legal basis in the United States. It all goes back to a obscure Supreme Court case back in 1967 called Afroyim versus Rusk. And then in the 1980s, under the Reagan years, the State Department issued a memo that basically said, we don't care if you're a dual citizen, but we're not endorsing it and we don't encourage it. And it sort of lives in a vague netherworld. So I expect it to come up. Why do I value my dual citizenship in France? And the bottom line is I got it when I turned 18 in 1981 because Reagan had just become elected president. And I was terrified that we were going to go to World War III. And so I wanted an escape hatch. So to me, the French passport is like my get out of jail card. Like if America goes tits up, I'm out.
That's the problem, though.
Okay, so fair.
That's the problem.
However,
because if you have an escape route, especially if you are a leader of the country, then by definition, that means that because you have an escape out, because you have a way out, that means that you can just completely screw over the population of the country in which you reside. Keep in mind, I'm not talking about the people in your situation just have it.
My cartoons don't have that much power.
No, I understand, but you're not in Congress, right?
Okay.
So, I mean, if you are, if you're making policy and then your policy is directly responsible for completely fucking up the country which you represent,
right?
Sorry, you have to stay there and help clean up the mess that you created. You don't get to just run off someplace else.
Okay, so listen, I understand.
Hold on,
that
one of the viewers, Mr. A. Lee on Rumble, says rich and powerful love dual citizenship. Bingo. That is a major point, because then they can exploit whatever laws or loopholes are permitted by way of their dual citizenry, that citizenship.
What are you talking about? What
Because then they can open business. For example, you can open, like some countries, you can't open a business in said country unless you're a citizen, right? Or unless you're a legal resident or whatever. So
or
you can now headquarter. Right. Now you can headquarter your business there in said country, but also be an American citizen. So I'm broadly with Robbie on that argument, is that at least with Thomas Massie, what he's saying is, if you're going to run for office, if you're going to represent the American people, then you need to go all in. That you should not be willy-nilly, halfway, like this Ben Shapiro dual citizen, who Ben Shapiro, who's never lived in Israel, born and raised in America. I think he's a California native, because he's Jewish and he's done his birthright trip and all that stuff, that he can have dual citizenship, because Israeli law states that you can do that, right? If you were of Jewish descent and you've done all your birthright stuff, then you can have dual citizenship. And he here's Ben Shapiro, a huge political influencer, to say the least, right? Advocating for the things that benefit Israel before things that actually benefit America. And certainly, I would say a lot of it is antithetical to the actual America First ideology. So,
far be it from me to stand up for a Zionist. However, in this case, I'm going to. Let me just say that, Ben Shapiro is hardly unique as being a tool of Israel in the U.S. Congress. Most of them are born right here in the good old U.S. of A. And have no dual citizenship whatsoever. For them, they're loyal primarily to the AIPAC mullah that's pouring in.
Sure.
But let me finish my point here. So I think we all agree on the basic idea that a U.S. congressman or other federal official, presumably vice president or president as well, should really only have U.S. nationality. Even if let's say I ran for U.S. president, I'd be willing to relinquish my French citizenship, right, if I were elected. But because I see the point of that. But you should be all in. But the problem is this: if this passes, I guarantee you it's slippery slope. They're going to then say, you heard what Massie said. He doesn't think you should be able to even run, even if you reveal everything. First, it's like, first reveal. It's sort of like, first just wear this star on your chest. Don't worry about it. Oh, next move to this ghetto. Don't worry, everything's going to be fine. Oh, next we're putting you on a train, but don't worry, there's work in the East. It's like, that's how this goes. It's like, first they're going to make you report. Then they're going to say you can't run for federal office. Then they're going to say you can't run for any office. Then they're going to say maybe you can't have a job at all. And then they're going to say ultimately it's against the law to have, and you're going to have to choose. And let me just jump to that fifth step. If they say, Ted Rall, you have to choose between France and the United States, I'm going to be like, bye, see ya. Because I don't want to be, and it's not because I would make that choice otherwise. It's because that would show to me that the country is against freedom. The country that in 1986 under Reagan said it's okay if you have joint citizenship is a country that has self-confidence. It's like, we're America. We're big enough to let people have dual nationality. It's fine. We know that we're cool. We have a great economy. We have freedoms. You're going to want to live here anyway. We're not worried. A country that starts to say, no, we're taking away your foreign credentials and stuff, that's a country that's saying, we're going to trap you. Next thing you know, you're going to need an like in a third world country where you need an exit visa in order to leave. You're a prisoner. Any country that says, I want to turn people, Americans into prisoners, is a fascist state. And
I agree with you on a lot of things, but you are completely off the reservation here. I don't know how much fear porn did you ingest this morning before the show? Because this is completely, this is insane. All right. First of all, I've never been to France, but I'm willing to bet you that if you did an audit of all of the French lawmakers, just pulling France out of the air here, if you go to a French congressman's, no, I don't know what they're called over there, but if you went to a France parliamentarian's office, deputy, whatever, how many of them have American flags in a frame on the wall in their official office? I'm willing to bet zero. Now, if you go to Congress, which, by the way, Thomas Massie's famously for saying people in Congress, they all have their APAC person. Hey, let me call my APAC person. How many people? I'm looking at you, Rick Scott. I'm looking at you, Brian Mast, who goes to Congress wearing the uniform of a foreign nation into my capital. Then you go in there and you see these beautiful stars of David and stuff on there. How many wars has this country fought on behest of Israel? How is that America first? And first of all, and just another quick point. You're talking about how America back in the 1980s was self-confident.
We haven't fought any wars on behalf of Israel.
No,
not official wars, because Congress doesn't declare them anymore.
I mean, no, we haven't destroyed Iraq twice. We're not helping them against Iran. We're not we're not helping them commit a genocide right now. We're not helping them in Syria. We're not helping them in Lebanon. We're not helping them just destabilize the entire freaking Middle East. We're not helping them with that at all.
Well, okay, we're fighting. Yeah, we're fighting. We're helping them. Yeah, that's true. Yes. But we're not fighting wars for them. Anyway, just say.
But I submit to you that we fought the Iraq War for Israel. I think that is painfully obvious. Going back and just looking at what all happened. But the point I'm trying to make is, why is it incumbent on the United States to be the world's bitch time and time and time again? You have Israel, who funds the ADL, who in its charter says that Israel is a ethnic Jewish state. And then you have Trump over here saying, well, we need to close the borders. Then the ADL, who's funded by the state of Israel with the backing of the American Congress, says if you do that, you're being racist and nativist. I'm sorry, you lose me at that point. Pick a country and then either make it better or make it worse. But God, at least pick something. Choose a fucking side.
But what about it? Look, if there was some kind of guarantee, like it's engraved in stone. There can be no slippery slope. We're just going to limit this to reporting, or even if you want to go so far as to say you can't run for federal office unless you renounce your foreign citizenship. But we're going to limit it there. It's not going to come down to affecting ordinary schmoes. It's not going to affect 61-year-old cartoonists who own cats named Clovis. It's going to be fine. Like, I'll still be able to have my exit strategy in case this country dies a dog's death, which is the odds are looking increasingly likely.
I think you're going to be okay there, Ted. Like I said, you got to lay off the fear porn a little bit, man. I mean, there is a big split here between.
They might take away my Social Security, and then, like, you know what? I can move to France, and no problem. I'll be taken care of.
Well, guess what? You're taken care of. I mean, then you're arguing for yourself here. I do not see the downside.
All I'm saying is I don't see, but there's no answer to my question here, right, guys? Like, Manila, Robbie, should there be a crackdown on dual citizenship in the U.S.? I think dual citizenship is objectively kind of a strange idea. And in fact, I could have had triple citizenship. I was married to a Taiwanese citizen, and now they're a sexist country. So because I'm a dude and she's a chick, her citizenship, I could not marry into Taiwanese citizenship as a dude because her girl citizenship is like not considered powerful. Oh, but if I was a girl and married a dude, a Taiwanese dude, then I would get his citizenship. So the point is that theoretically, let's just say
patriarchal there.
I was trans. I could I could transition and get one of the most useless passports in the world. I mean, a Taiwanese passport is accepted like in Vanuatu, but
It's up there with Laos.
yeah,
I mean, me personally, I
Laos
would,
is much more useful.
I would do away with dual citizenship altogether. It's stupid. Pick a country and live there.
It doesn't make sense.
It makes no sense. But if
But
you're
we
going to
do
have dual
have it.
citizenship, well, we do. We should get rid of it. In my opinion, that solves the whole problem. Ben Shapiro's head would explode. Senator Schumer's brain would explode. I mean, how many people in who serve in the American government are dual citizens of these countries? It's a fair question to ask. That's
we don't
the
know.
problem.
We don't know the answer. In fact, we don't even
They don't
know
have
how
to
many.
disclose.
We don't even know
But
how
they
many
should.
dual nationals there are in the United States. There are probably millions. I was kind of
Isn't
surprised. I
Ted
looked
Cruz
this up.
one?
Pardon?
Isn't Ted Cruz a dual citizen of something?
I think
Canada.
that's true. And by the way,
Canada? Is that
the
what it
countries that are in order that are the most common second citizenships are Mexico, Canada, not surprising, they're neighbors,
Yeah.
the UK, and Israel.
Well, there you go.
Not
Is-
surprising because Israel gives basically, if you're Jewish, you can get Israeli citizenship.
Yes.
So
And the issue is especially
Oh.
if you are serving in the government of a country in which you are then able to make policy, you then have to make a decision. Which country am I going to legislate in behalf of?
Your
Because
loyalty,
it's not
yeah.
a zero-sum game. So there's going to be a
loyalty
winner
test.
and there's going to be a loser.
So Ted Cruz was at birth a dual citizen. However, in 2014, he renounced his Canadian citizenship, which, I think that makes sense. If you're going to be a friggin' senator, you're legislating. You're one of 100, only 100 senators. Like, that's a big deal. You should really, if you're going to be a U.S. senator, then you should be a U.S. only citizen.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Well, there's that. And also, I just want to point out for all the people who are suffering from TDS and just hate Trump and he's an authoritarian douchebag, which, by the way, I'm one of them. I'm a conservative and I despise Trump. Thomas Massie is hated by Donald Trump. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? Why does Trump hate Massie?
all
I mean,
right,
he wants
tell
to.
us.
No, he wants to primary him, like the AIPAC primaried him in the last election cycle. Well, the reason is because Thomas Massie actually is America first, in that the American people should be put first. Trump is America first in the neocon sense, in that America has to be a hegemon. That's the difference. So you have America first globally as the head of this rules-based order, whatever that even means. And then you have America First, which is where Thomas Massie and Tucker Carlson there on the screen pop in, said that the American people should come first. That's the split. Like Thomas Massie, he wears his old debt clock on his that he built, which is freaking awesome. Yeah.
He's an engineer or something, right?
Yeah, he's an engineer, super smart, brilliant guy. And all this crap that Trump is going out for, Massie opposes him every single time.
Yeah.
Like Trump lights him up. No, here you have Donald Trump, who's talking about Lindsey Graham, who's America first. Look, I love you, Lindsey.
Oh,
you're the big fan, Lindsey. And then he just hates
Trump
Thomas Massie.
Falls for Lindsey's sweet nothings when he whispers them in his ears.
Hey, it would not surprise me if they go into a closet somewhere. It would not surprise me one bit. So I mean, this is for the Scott Stanises, the Ted Rawls, people out there who are opposed to Trump, which I do. I'm right there with you. Look at Thomas Massie. Rally behind that man. Support him.
Well,
Because
yeah, but I like my dual citizenship. And
then Ted, maybe you should decide if you want to be American or French.
Well, there are,
Make a decision.
and I may well have to decide
Then
that.
pick one. Pick one, brother.
But let me
Because
just say,
I'm all in. All I have is America. That's all I've got.
Me
there
too.
are a lot of advantages to allow for the country, not just for the people like me who have dual nationality. It allows you, for example, for it like for someone who's thinking about moving from one country to the other, it kind of gives you like, well, I don't have to give up what I used to have. I can hold on to what I used to have in case it doesn't work out. Let's just say, for example, You have a dual
in case
national.
it doesn't work out. That's a key.
Yeah.
So then
that
be
means
all in.
you don't have to commit. That's
Well,
like being in an open marriage.
That's
Ted,
exactly right.
Ted,
It's
you're
an
like
open
one of these
marriage.
people
It's
who's on
poly.
YouTube
It's
who watches.
poly is what it is.
You're like these people on YouTube who watch these thousands of people who watch the show every single day, but can't be bothered to click the subscribe button.
Now that's low. That's really low.
They're poly.
That is
bottom of the barrel.
What this is. That is
They're
what this
poly
is.
Yeah, it is poly because, like, for example, when I went and filed for my French citizenship when I was 18, it was a zoo, by the way. It's hard to believe this now, but in 1981, everyone thought Reagan was insane and was going to start World War III, and so. I turned 18 that year and I'm like, oh my God, we're all going to, I'm going to die. So the line was like crazy. It was like last train to Berlin around the block at the French consulate. So I have something, my mom gave me all the documents. I'm there waiting in line and it's just crowd of people like gathered around the desk. And then I get this tap on my shoulder and this older gentleman beckons me to follow him up the stairs. And it's a beautiful, because it's the French government. They have this beautiful former rich guy's oligarch's mansion on Fifth Avenue, all marble. It's beautiful. I walk into this room. The guy has this state painting of Francois Mitterrand that's about 30 feet high behind his desk and all these beautiful tapestries. So anyway, he's the consul general. And I guess he just started to help out. And so he's like, okay, so you're a college student. I'm like, yeah. And he's like, okay, so I have one question for you. He goes, are you willing to serve in the French military in the event of conflict? Because at the time they had conscription. And I said, absolutely. So the point is that it's poly. It's not open relationship. And he said, okay. And that's why he's like, boom. That was the proper answer. I guess there's some guys who probably would have said like, oh, I don't want to do that. And then he gave me a dispensation because as long as you stay in college, you don't have to serve in the French military. But I don't know. The point is, I think, look at the advantages from America's standpoint. If I'm poor here and I decide I can't make it here, and I would be like living on government assistance, I can go to France and then you'll be rid of me and you won't have to pay for me.
But you know what? If odds are, though, if you're poor, you're not going to be serving in Congress, voting on the interests of a foreign country that the American taxpayer.
But I agree with you about that. But what about the slippery slope thing?
Who cares about it?
I care about it. I think they're drawing.
Pick a side, Ted. Pick a damn side. That's all I'm saying, brother. Pick a side. Are you going to be American? Or are you going to be French? Are you going to be American? Are you going to be Israeli? Are you going to be American? Are you going to be British? Or pick one. I am sick and freaking tired of hyphenated Americans. You're either an American or you're not. That's how I see this. My family's been here for almost 500 years. I was born here. I will die here. My children were born here. My children will die here. We are all in. There's nowhere else for us to go. If this country succeeds, great. If this country fails, we fail with it. And I am sick and tired of my government being mortgaged out to globalist bastards, imperialist cucks who constantly whore out my country, who treat the United States as a fucking prostitute till she's used up and then you discard it and then you move on for another one. I am sick of it. I am over it. And I want it to be ended.
That's why, Robbie, you vehemently oppose Trump's whole new gold card visa or whatever and path to citizenship.
And immigration also. I am sick of it all. Why are we in NATO? They're fighting migrants who froze to death this last winter outside of my town right now because there's nothing for them. There's nothing for anyone. People here cannot afford to pay their rent. They can't pay the American middle class is dying. And then what you do, I'll tell you what the issue is. I want an American congressman or senator who looks at the United States the same way they look at that sweet, sweet money that they get from Israel or that they get from their NATO contractors. I want America to be put first. That's not too much to ask for. And I'm sorry if your loyalty is divided between the country in which whose government in which it is that you serve and the country that pays your salary, then you are nothing more than a whore and you should leave. That's how I see it. Is that blunt? Yeah, it is, but that's how I feel. Pick a side. For the love of God, pick something. Get off the fence.
I would just like to point out that it was a dual national that made this country what it is today. If it was not for the Marquis de Lafayette, who became an American citizen, honorary, it was given to him by a grateful nation. Yeah. We would all be speaking British today.
We are speaking British anyway.
Shit.
So that's a bit of a fail. Also, back then, the United States didn't exist when the Marquis was over here helping us out. So there is that.
Yeah, but we helped him. We gave him citizenship afterwards.
But you know what? We saved France not once, but twice in 2 separate world wars. I think we kind of paid
compound interest.
I think we can call that one a wash.
I would say I'd say France did try to save us in Vietnam. They told us, "Don't do it." We did it. It didn't work out. Don't do it. We didn't listen.
Well, I mean, yeah, that was just stupid.
Yeah, I think I'm not as passionate about this topic as either of you because, I was born in the United States. I only have an American passport.
Well, how come you don't have Laotian citizenship?
They do allow dual citizenship, but I don't have. But yes, allow it. But I think I don't have claim to it because I think my mom did have dual and then she relinquished it.
Why?
I can't remember.
Oh, my mom had relinquished her French citizenship.
And she was the birth person.
At the time, in the 70s, you had to do that.
Okay, and on YouTube, the join button just appeared. I failed to click a button back when we got monetized. So if you click on the TMI Show there on YouTube, right up under our banner, or also up under any video, there's a little join button there. And now people on YouTube can financially support the show. Your producer, nice. your producer, as is doing his job. I am your emotional support. I am your emotional support conservative, Ted.
Okay, thank you.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I never looked into Laos's rules about.
Aren't you curious at all?
Citizenship? No.
Why would you be?
I've never set foot in the country. I have no interest of having dual citizenship. That might be my ancestry.
It's very strange that I've been to Laos and you haven't.
I know. And furthermore, as my 23andMe revealed, to corroborate my late grandmother's stories, I'm technically ethnically Chinese anyway. So.
You're part of the Chinese diaspora.
That's right. So I don't have any real reason to be interested in having a dual citizenship with Laos. But I think how the Lao one works is that someone like my mom, who was born there and immigrated to the United States and became naturalized in the U.S., that she could retain her Lao citizenship. But for whatever reason, I don't recall, but she relinquished it in the 80s.
That doesn't mean anything. You could still probably get it if you wanted it.
But why would you want it? I mean, that's the question.
Me?
Why would you? No. I mean, if you immigrate to another country, now I'm about to show y'all my redneck inbred family trees go straight up, but bona fides here. If I immigrated to France or Germany or China or whatever country, if I want to go there, if I want to live there, if I want to be a citizen of that country, why in the hell would I ever retain the citizenship of the country which I left? That's the entire point. I am going someplace to start a new life, and I'm not going back. I'm committing. I'm so sick of this hyphenated crap. You are either an American or you're not. You're Japanese or you're not. You're French or you're not. You're German or Russian, no, whatever. No, pick your country. Go all in on that country and try to make it better than what it was when you first found it. Don't just be like, oh, well, the weather might not be to my liking. I think I'm just going to go back where I go.
Honestly, the reason is because, think about World War II. And the reason that I really wanted the French citizenship was because my family is conscious of what happened in World War II. I mean, think about all the Jews who were able to escape Europe. There were not nearly enough of them, obviously. But the ones who did, they got, for example, visas and then citizenship to China, for example. There's the Chinese Oscar Schindler guy who invited Jews. They had their own neighborhood in Shanghai.
Yeah.
And then, there's a lot of other people who went to Cuba and other places, and they escaped. If it wasn't for that ability to emigrate, in many cases through dual nationality, through ties from their family, they would have died. I mean, this country is flirting with fascism these days.
It's not flirting with it. I mean, we're taking it to the dance.
Okay,
I mean, there is no flirting.
The majority of the countries, the majority of the countries in the world do not allow dual citizenship
for good reason.
I mean, and that doesn't mean like Japan doesn't do it. I don't think. I think you have to be all in with Japan. It doesn't mean that they're fascists. It just
I don't think
it
that's
means
true. There are Americans who
know.
have married who it's very, very hard to obtain Japanese citizenship if you're not born there. Very hard. But
well,
like
either way.
But even if you marry a Japanese person and you live there and work there for years, you might never get it. You have to become fluent in Japanese, blah, blah, blah. But the point is that like you're allowed to keep your U.S. citizenship.
The majority of the world's countries do not allow for dual citizenship. And I'm sure they'll argue for various different reasons or whatever. But there's probably, like Robbie said, there's a good reason. They want you to be committed and be all in into that country. And that way you don't keep thinking that you have this golden parachute that you like. If the US goes to shit, that Ted can golden parachute himself into France and get retirement at whatever age they've moved it to. Cause I don't know what the yellow vest protest.
Especially
so there you go.
Well, especially also doubly so if you are serving in the government of a country and you're the dual citizen of another, and then you actively vote. I'm looking at you, Israel. You have dual citizens who serve in my Congress, who actively support you using my tax dollars. So you can do your Greater Israel Project and literally commit a genocide with the backing of people who are elected by American citizens, flying the flag of a foreign country. I oppose that with every fiber of my being. I hate it. It is treasonous. Brian Mast should be hung by the neck till dead for what he did.
Jeez.
He is a traitor to the United States.
We do not call for violence on anybody on this show. I'm
correct.
Saying this as a disclaimer.
Except enemies of Clovis. Yeah,
I'm not going to. I'm not saying I'm going to ring. I'm not going to go to his house and hang him by his fat neck. However, I would not shed any tears if that happened. He's a traitor. Look, Mitch McConnell is a traitor. Donald Trump is a traitor.
To the country or to the movement. And I put JD Vance up on the screen because I think, he's right along the lines there with Thomas Massie. JD Vance, I'll say, has actually grown on me. I was not hot about Vance
like
when Trump
it's the eyeliner.
Him. But yes, I do like that androgyny here in the eyes.
Yeah, he has that David Bowie thing going.
Yeah. But so look.
And the werewolf thing.
Mark
my words. When that breaks, it'll be like, oh my God, Ted was right. There was a full moon in Washington.
He's a wereboy. So he's proven to be more MAGA and more America first than the people that trumpet it the loudest, like a Ben Shapiro, who has a huge megaphone, right? And Vance, who leaned into this, we saw here, speaking here at the Munich Security Conference, Massie applauded what Vance said. He quoted him in a couple tweets. So these two are simpatico when it comes to really putting America first. And then you have Trump attacking Massie. And so this is starting.
So what's Trump's beef with Massie? And then we should probably, move on.
Change the topic. Yeah. But this is the fissure, right, Robbie, between like the MAGA movement, the populists and the neocons who pretend to be MAGA, who pretend to be America first. And I think JD Vance is the heir apparent.
What is why, or maybe Robbie, why does Trump not like Massie?
Oh, there's a lot of reasons. First of all,
give me one or two.
Trump wants these big fat omnibus spending bills. Massie's opposed them. He said that he wants standalone spending bills, so that way you can just have an up and down vote on on the different spending bills. Trump hates that. He just wants to get rid of the debt ceiling. Massie doesn't. Massie is also really a lot more keen on closing down foreign military bases, reallocating resources here to home, bringing down the debt. And Trump is, of course, he talks one thing, but actually does another. So that's what it is that Massie is in the public what Trump says he wants to be. And that's the issue.
Massie's legit. Like I think he's genuine. I think Massie is the real deal. And I think JD Vance, when he started his political career, was in the neocon camp, and something happened and he kind of woke up. Like he woke up, smelled the bullshit, and converted. And maybe
he smelled the opportunity.
Maybe people said he's a grifter, but now we've seen from the signal reveals of the entire thread, he is this guy that we're watching at the Munich Security Conference. I agreed with every last bit of what he said at the Munich Security Conference, and I agree with every last word he typed in that signal thread about, this is protecting.
Well, except for the fact that we ought not to be bombing Yemen. How about that?
Well, he I think was very careful as the VP and also ex-military
building. Not exactly.
No, I agree. I agree.
Covering, but not exactly a glorious moment for the United States.
I agree with the sentiment, and him as the vice president pushing back as only dissenting voice in that signal group to push back on the idea. But then he fell back in line because he knows his place. He's the vice president and he's an ex-military guy, so he gets it. So he fell back in line and said, but if this is what the administration wants, then I will support it. I support the president, blah, blah, blah. But this is all while he thought he was texting in private. So what we're seeing from Vance is genuine Vance. I think this is what he believes and how he feels, just like Massie.
Another thing about what Massie did, Massie came out and he just publicly said for the whole world to see is that we are enabling a genocide in Gaza. And
he did come out and say that.
That blew up MAGA world. There is a reason why Republicans, the Republican Party hates Thomas Massie.
Yeah.
And the better question is why is it, if I'm going to assume that there's at least some populists in the Democratic Party, why are they not working with that man?
Well,
I don't understand it.
Obviously Thomas Massie has a different agenda than they do.
Yeah, it's America first.
Well, okay, America first is what I hate about it is that it's vague, right? Anyone can say that they're for America first, but what does that actually mean in practice, right?
Well, if you're on the Thomas Massie board train of MAGA first, that means smaller government, less war, and more enabling of the American people.
Smaller government is not necessarily America first. I was just looking at the news this morning about RFK Jr. is planning to lay off 20,000 HHS workers. And my first thought was, here I am looking for work. Now I've got to compete with 20,000 more people who are being fired by my government. That's not getting rid of health workers isn't really like putting America first.
No, but
that's the split. Trump is
pulling out of NATO is
not MAGA. Yes.
Well, I agree with that.
That's the argument, is that Trump is not truly make America great, not truly America first, and that this man that we're looking at is. That's the argument. Is that
Correct.
Who is the real America first politician?
Me and Clovis.
So politician, unless you start running for office. But
we're going God way over. So I'm going to drop off now so we can continue.
Yeah, we have stuff to do.
15 minutes. So yeah, I would be over the moon, guys, if there goes Robbie. I would be over the moon, Ted, if I saw a Massie and I don't know, somebody else Massie ticket in 28. Honestly, if I could see Massie on a ticket, if I could see even Rand Paul at the top of a ticket, I'd be happy about that. I don't think that's the way it's going to break down. I think 28, we're going to see Vance as the heir apparent to the Republican Party
versus Mayor Pete.
I still say it'll be Vance v. Gavin.
Gavin's definitely a possibility. I think he's hobbled by his California affiliation.
I'm back. I think y'all can hear me. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. So a quick shout out. We have got ourselves our first paying member on YouTube.
Woo!
Final Watcher 89 at 8:41 this morning became our very first channel subscriber over there on YouTube.
10:41,
so thank you
no,
so much.
10:41 Eastern American
Oh.
time.
Well, I'm
Robbie's,
in
yeah.
I'm in Montana.
Patriotic God's time.
So we've got our very first YouTube supporter. Thank you so much.
Thank you very
The
much.
name again, Robbie?
Final Watcher 89.
Oh, the Final Watcher. Thank you so
Final
much.
Watcher.
God
All
bless
right.
you.
Well, our
Let's-
old show. Yeah, thank you for that. All right, Robbie. So, okay, well, we're gonna move on from this topic because I didn't realize we both you and Robbie had such deep-rooted feelings or deep-seated feelings about.
Well, what's funny is I think
About
it's.
this thing.
I'm not sure if the subtle aspect of my stance is clear, but I don't need to repeat it. I've already done it. But
Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
All right.
Okay,
Let's
a
do
Russian military court has handed down long prison sentences to 12 members of the Azov regiment of Ukraine. The Azov battalion, of course, led the defense of Mariupol back in the early months of the Russo-Ukrainian War, and has been officially designated as a terrorist organization by the Russian Federation. I think actually wasn't Azov designated as a not terrorist, but something bad by the U.S. at some point. But anyway, before all the latest troubles, the defendants charged with terrorist activity and violently seizing or retaining power have been sentenced to between 13 and 23 years in prison. The 12 Azov members appeared in court with shaved heads, said that they are going to appeal the verdicts, and some of them have said they didn't do anything wrong, or said that the testimony that they gave was obtained under duress. The human rights ombudsman for Ukraine, Dmytro Lubinets, accused Russia of violating international humanitarian law and said the verdicts were illegal. Lubinets complained to the UN. He said Ukrainian POWs are combatants, not criminals. They were fulfilling their duty to the state, protecting its territorial integrity and sovereignty, he said. Azov, which is banned in Russia, has been a special focus of Russian anger, often characterized by Russia as a fanatical grouping of Russia-hating neo-Nazis. Well, that's accurate. Ukraine rejected Russia's description of Azov as a terrorist organization. The regiment was founded by a hardline nationalist, Andriy Beletsky, but subsequently disassociated itself from his politics. So I think I don't have a lot to say about this. I think basically these guys are all going to be ultimate. This is all, this is sort of par for the course. Russia generally gives long sentences for everything. And and I mean, they have long prison terms. I mean, remember Brittany Griner and all that. So, So basically, that's par for the course. Obviously, they're POWs, and they will be exchanged at some point, sooner rather than later, I would think. And
they didn't shave the woman's hair, the Azov woman.
Well, that's good. Yeah, she's an Azovette.
Yes.
So I mean, it is certainly true that Azov is a neo-Nazi organization. Oh, yeah. I don't know if it's also true that they were serving the state. That's true. They were serving the state in the same way that, say, the SS served the German state in World War II.
Right.
They were definitely, it's not like they were just rogue. So I don't think it's really quite fair to call them terrorists. These days, everybody's calling everybody terrorists, right?
Like, I know.
Pro-Gaza protesters are terrorists. Everybody's a terrorist. So they're not really terrorists, but they are, definitely, I would say, Azov being declared a terrorist organization within Russia. In other words, telling Russians,
that's fine.
You can't be a member of this. That's okay.
That's fine.
But these guys were fighting in Ukraine, and they were captured. They're POW.
Right.
Really,
you can't
their legal status is that
retroactively.
They're POWs. They should be treated as POWs.
I agree. You can't retroactively. Far be it from us to defend fucking neo-Nazis.
Oh, they're the worst. These guys are totally. They're. But that's the thing. That's the thing, right? When anybody abuses people's rights, it's always scumbags, like Venezuelan gangbangers, right?
Yeah.
You start with first they came for the scumbags. That's really true.
So far be it from us to defend these neo-Nazi scumbags.
That's neither here nor there. Yeah.
But that's not the point. The point is they were just combatants in the war, right?
Yeah.
At Mariupol. and they were captured. Their side lost Mariupol. They are prisoners of war, like plain and simple. I don't care what's in their heart that they might, view me as undermention or whatever. I don't, whatever. I'll still say, I still think they're part of members of the losing side. They are prisoners of war, and they should be treated as such. And I
It's
do
so funny,
hope,
by
out of
the way, that
fairness,
like people are
that
like,
they
Azov's
get
not
treated.
neo-Nazi. Look at their logo. It's an abstracted swastika. Hello.
And look up any kind of media about them. Let's say 10 years ago.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Not even that long ago.
And just look
5
at
years ago.
And look at all the look at the swastikas and the black sun logos on their
Yes.
yeah. And even now what's really hilarious is like whenever the Ukrainians, whenever US media shows a picture of like a ceremony, a military ceremony or a military funeral in Ukraine, there's always like these World War II era Nazi flags. It's like, oh, but there's no Nazi problem in Ukraine.
Like, I'm just a collector, Ted. Just a collector.
Yeah, they're just cool looking.
Like this dude right
here. Well,
the
Nazis did know their aesthetics.
That's true. They did hire Hugo Boss to design the SS uniforms.
That is true. And
I mean,
there's a notebook. I
amazing.
don't know if you've ever seen it. I'm such a dork. I have one of Hitler's original drawings of original uniforms for the brown shirts from the early 20s. He designed, and he designed the swastika logo, and he designed
reject or whatever.
He designed the flags and all that stuff. So he was.
So that he had that like the image in his mind already.
Oh yeah, starting in like 1922, 1923, when he was just like a failed art student.
Wow. Well, I mean, who am I to say if this guy is a chemo patient or a Nazi?
Maybe both.
He's probably
Nazis get cancer.
That's true. He's probably like 40. Just saying. He just looks like hell. But,
hey, there are girls who like older guys.
The point is, he's probably not that old. That guy's probably
that guy's 26.
A Ukrainian 40. Like, yeah, exactly.
He's
like
a Jesus Zoomer. Ukrainian Zoomer.
Just
I mean, it's hard to say. A lot of these guys come out of the Russian POW facilities really looking like shit. But when you see them on the front, they also look like shit.
But they're like 100. But
so who knows if like the Russians didn't give them enough to eat, or if they just didn't have enough to eat to begin with? I mean, who knows?
Well, no, Ted, it's just the lifestyle out there. I mean, if you're not from like Kiev. If you're not from Kiev, like a big city like Kiev, where people probably look more age appropriate, if you're from the boonies, there is some heavy drinking that goes on in Ukraine. Russia was going down that path, but enter Vladimir Putin 20 plus years ago, and that kind of changed because of the economic situation across Russia, right? So they obviously became an economic powerhouse in the past 20 years. Whereas Ukraine never did. They never recovered after the fall of the Soviet Union. Ukraine's, like the Rust Belt in Ukraine is still rusty. So, people, and when that happens to you and you're economically decimated, you could be 30 years old and look like this because you've been doing some hard drinking of the vodka.
I gotta say, it is true objectively what Putin said about like it, the fall of the Soviet Union being having been a catastrophe. It really was. I would say the biggest victim of it was the United States, because we lost the adversary that sort of like that kept us honest. Like, if we don't make sure that capitalism doesn't suck too hard, we're going to end up, the socialists are going to the commies are going to end up taking over the entire world. And now we don't have that anymore. And
because they're also capitalist.
So we're soft.
Even though, I could see that. But, the fall of the Soviet Union for so many reasons proved to be horrible for millions and countless millions of people. right,
Yeah.
across that region of the world.
And
So
by the way, our role in bringing that about is it's not exactly covered with glory either. A lot of economic sabotage, terrorism. I mean, how many Americans know that the U.S. bombed the Trans-Siberia oil pipeline back in like the 70s, or hired CIA operatives to blow up oil refineries along the border with the Uzbek SSR.
The so-called scourge of communism is what brought about all the massacres in Southeast Asia in the Vietnam War, right? Like the U.S., the fake Gulf of Tonkin bullshit that led into the Vietnam War, and we don't want these Ho Chi Minh fuckers to come down south, and that's same thing, because that was also a proxy war. The Vietnam War, it was a proxy war. The Soviets were backing. Yeah, that was like a big time, probably first iteration of the US/Soviet proxy war, which again, it's not the same thing right now, because Russia, we need to point out, because Ted, there are Congress members who still think that Russia is Soviet.
Oh, I know.
still communist.
And many of my cartoonist colleagues will still draw like Putin, who's an anti-communist,
right?
With hammers and sickles and stuff. And I'm like, they're like, oh, the Soviets are coming. I wish they were Soviet. I wish.
But they're not. But they failed, like,
sadly and tragically.
Bigly.
Anyway.
All right. Next topic. We'll move on.
Let's keep going here. NPR's CEO and president, Catherine Marr, along with PBS CEO and President Paula Kerger, went before the House Oversight Committee yesterday in front of their subcommittee on delivering on government efficiency, where they were accused of being a bunch of lefties. At stake, the $535 million they get from Congress via the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Chairwoman Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene established the subcommittee as a counterpart to DOJ. The public media outlets were accused of spreading misinformation, focusing too much on transgender folks, and being biased against Trump. PBS and NPR tried to move the focus over to their non-political content. They highlighted their programming geared towards education, preparing preschool-aged kids who might not be able to afford daycare. NPR talked about how important local radio is during natural disasters, particularly in rural and remote areas, and that's very true. Yeah. Like, for example, there are now tornado warning deserts out in the plains where there's no radio station that is local, that knows that a tornado is coming and can warn you. It argued that it's key to keeping local news alive, since it's the only real news outlet with nearly 3,000 local journalists. Marr said she regretted previous tweets disparaging Trump. Yeah, that's probably not a good idea.
Not smart.
And it's not professional. And said that NPR made mistakes covering the Hunter Biden laptop story, to say the least. But Republicans obviously were not having it. They said that podcasts make NPR less important for getting news to rural areas. As a dude who does podcasts, I don't think I can give tornado warnings to people in Nebraska, but just saying.
Right.
I don't think they should get a penny of federal funds, said Congressman James Comer. We'll be watching whether the public media maintains its funding in the budget Republicans are working on over the coming weeks. I wouldn't hold my breath.
So Marjorie Taylor Greene, what we're looking at on the screen is her chastising NPR and the PBS bosses over like the so-called trans agenda, and how they've infused this, and more specifically probably towards the PBS lady, that they've really shoehorned in the trans agenda, and she's always this kind of like what do they call it, like the social warrior or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's not my thing. I mean, I would prefer to keep things as basic, and my son was this PBS watcher not that long ago, right, with Elmo and Sesame Street. I would much prefer that we keep things very simple when they're that age, like man, woman, husband, wife, like dog, cat. Let's keep things simple when they're that young and not able to process. But so I agree with Marjorie on this, but overall, I donate to my local PBS, right? Because I have consumed their content. They, I mean, geez Louise, Downton Abbey. I used to love Downton Abbey. It came from PBS.
Yeah.
Like great scripted work. I enjoy some of their dumb travel shows. They're cheesy and corny, but like I enjoy a lot of those things. So apart from, you know, a few sprinklings of some of the social consciousness stuff that I think should not take any shape within an early child's education. I agree with Marjorie there, but the rest of it, like, come on, leave the public funding broadcasters alone. But I think the greater point to this, Ted, is that the Elon Musk part of this, the Doge part, is that he doesn't want to fund any of it at all. So that part, if you're going to not fund it, like, don't fund anybody. Don't fund any, don't funnel it through USAID. Don't funnel it through whatever. Like, you're not, like, if you're going to bar US government money, which is our tax dollar money, going towards any sort of media, then no media. Like, it's all or nothing. Again, shit or get off the pot. Like, that's it. So here, I think Marjorie's going on doing her thing. Whatever. Let Marjorie do what Marjorie do. But I agree. Maybe fire Elon and save Elmo.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's part of me is like, I'm really torn about this. I agree with a lot of what you just said. I mean, I don't understand for their own good why PBS ever has indulged any kind of political orientation or point of view or programming. I don't think trans stuff is inherently political at all. But I think, but just generally, look, obviously, when you watch PBS, you know that it leans liberal, it leans democratic. There's just no question about that. And it's also true that most of the content isn't of that ilk at all. It's like nature specials, it's all this other stuff. And so it's kind of like, do you really want to die on this hill of like 5% of your programming if you're PBS and NPR? Like, you really don't, right? Yeah. Just play it straight and just like maybe just don't do that. Otherwise, you're gonna have like the right wingers up your ass.
Right. Get the heat off of you. If you actually care about saving the programming for the kids, then get rid of the one or two characters that you invented that are so offending to Doge and so offensive to the Trump organization or Trump administration. Same thing, organization, whatever. Like, it's one or two characters. It's great that you've introduced characters that are blind or that are deaf or that, I think that's a wonderful thing. But you're going to introduce story time with whatever, this drag queen, whatever.
Did they do that?
Just get rid of that show.
Did they do that on TV?
Yeah, that's what Marjorie was showing on the board behind them, behind her was, I guess there's a drag queen that had like a special.
I swear that drag queen story hour gets more press. I went into the wrong business.
You should have done it, Ted. You could still do it.
Oh, well, true. I go get my weenie whacked off.
No, because drag queens for the most part are not.
Oh yeah, they're hung like horses.
For the most part, drag queens are like in their daily lives are, at least the ones I knew growing up in West Hollywood. Most of them live their daily lives as dudes. Like they dress like men, they act like men. And some of them are gay, some of them are not. That I know in West Hollywood. No,
mostly not, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. They just enjoy doing it for whatever reason. It's just this other persona. But yeah, I would say it was like 50-50 of all the drag queens I knew, in West Hollywood. Santa Monica Boulevard,
How many drag queens did you know personally? Come on. I never knew any personally.
Professional or that just
I don't know, amateur, unlicensed.
Well, yeah,
rogue.
There's a thing, because there's professional ones that actually perform on stage and whatever. And this is back then, like, in the early 2000s. So I would say of like the professional ones, I would say I knew like 4 or 5. And then broadly of people men that enjoyed dressing in drag, I was probably 10, 12.
Wow, that's a lot of drag queens.
But I'm from Los Angeles. I'm from I hung out
the drag
in Hollywood.
queen capital of the United States.
Yes, just think about this. The early 2000s, right? It was the Sunset Strip was hot again. Hollywood was cool again, and I was in my early 20s, and that's I hung out in Boys Town off Santa Monica Boulevard, had some fun hanging out with all my gays. As well as hanging out at the Rainbow Room with a bunch of like heroin chic rockers, right? So it's depend on the mood I was in. But my point is, it now has become mainstreamed, good or bad. And I these aren't like close friends. These are people I hung out with 20 years ago, 25 years, 24, 25 years ago. But there were a lot of them. There were a lot of people. That's why I have a little bit of insight into that world to tell you that not all drag queens are gay. Not all drag queens have gender dysphoria. Not all drag queens want to chop off their junk.
Right. In fact, pretty much none.
Most don't.
Yeah. No, I remember one of the most terrifying moments of my life when I was a taxi driver, and I had an incident, and I had to stop and go into a drag queen bar in what is today the Hell's Kitchen area of Manhattan. I walk into this place. It's like in the basement, and it's all drag queens. And it was like, the guys. I mean, I'm 6'2". I was one of the smallest dudes in there. And and it was like, and it was absolutely like, I wasn't sure they were going to let me out. They kind of toyed with not letting me out. And it was scary. I mean, I thought, oh, I might be about to be, what was that Jodie Foster movie where she's the rape victim? I thought I was going to be me on the, on the foosball table. It was ugly.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's, I can attest to that. I can say that a good portion of the drag queens I knew, and to point out what folks in the Rumble room are talking about, there is a difference between, at least there was, I don't know about now. I'm not in, I don't hang out in that world anymore, but there's a difference between transvestites versus drag queens. The drag queens were the ones that liked dressing over the top with the feather boas and the, like the glam, right? Like a caricature of what a woman is, versus back then what was considered a transvestite was a biological male who liked to dress up and dress up like a regular chick, right? Like not with the glam, just wearing women's clothing. And then now that I feel like has been kind of co-opted into the phrase trans, where these people are transitioning, right? So I don't know. There's still a lot of transvestites that are actually straight dudes, but they like wearing women's clothes. I think Mayor Giuliani got caught up in that scandal, and I think boxing legend Oscar De La Hoya, he was caught. He's got some pictures from one of his ex-wives that got published. He was like wearing women's panties, and look at Clovis. He was trying to open the door. He was trying to reach for the door handle. Yeah, Oscar De La Hoya was photographed in private wearing like stockings and stilettos and women's panties. So I remember seeing them. But anyway, if you want to talk about another divide in that world, Ted, that's another one of them, by the way. A lot of I'll call them classic gays, like my classically gay friends, really are not happy with the young movement of the trans or non-binary. Not what there. A lot of them are not happy about that movement, like how it's been kind of co-opted, and there's a big fracture there too, and
Really?
that's a really contentious. Yeah, Ted, you clearly don't have enough gays in your life.
Yeah, I guess not. I mean, it's far more interesting, I guess, than my boring life.
The gays, the classic gays, the OG gays.
Cartoonists used to be more interesting than they are now, but they're not.
The OG gays are not into this whole new trans and trans movement. There's a whole fracture there.
I know that like a lot of OG gay
lesbians.
guys, they really do hate bisexual guys.
There's some of that, but they're kind of like pick a side, like Robbie telling you with the
right,
French
right,
passport.
exactly. You're not allowed to.
Side.
Yeah, you can't be
Bitch.
like do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah, well, so that's a topic that we
controlling much.
If you dare broach it, I'm sure there are people that will, from either side that would talk about this. There are a lot of I know a handful of classic gay men that will and classic lesbian women.
I picture classic gay men have like fins and chrome,
white walls.
Yeah, looking. Yeah.
So anyway, okay, let's move on from that because that's kind of like neither here nor there. Last cute topic since I think Clovis knew that we were going to talk about this.
Yeah.
That he was trying to reach for the door handle.
He's like, I'm out. He's like, fuck this shit. Okay. All right.
He's like, get to my main topic.
All right. And finally, we know the feeling of wanting to bring your pet with you, even on vacation. That's true. If you're an American citizen, that process can be tedious and stressful because it involves meeting different requirements for every nation that you travel to. But for pets across the ocean, there's a certain travel document that makes it easier. Pet passport. EU citizens can obtain a pet passport to make you feel like your cat or dog is part of the family, but they're also necessary to travel with pets between member states. An EU passport looks a lot like a human equivalent, little blue booklets with personal information and optional photos. They contain a collection of details required to bring your dog, cat, and ferret between nations in the EU. Ferrets are very popular, actually, in Europe, including microchip or tattoo code identification, rabies vaccination records, sorry, RFK Jr., and contact information for the veterinarian who issued the document. EU residents have to get their pet's paperwork and receive a stamp of approval from a vet, and then they can move around within the EU. The booklets are valid for life as long as the info is up to date. So if your pet changes, like transitions, you have to change it. Or if your pet like changes its name.
Fake Clovis.
Exactly. Or Cloviqua. Some European Free Trade Association countries and non-EU nations like Iceland, Switzerland, and Monaco also have pet passports that are recognized by the EU. They are a pretty important achievement. According to the European Commission, this significant step was made possible by dramatic advances made in the fight against rabies. The EU tried to abolish wildlife rabies completely by 2020, but it came pretty close. It didn't quite achieve that. Now the virus is only in the eastern part of the EU. Still, the member states remain vigilant about becoming rabies-free as soon as possible. So there are a few limitations, however, for them. Since 2021, the old booklets are not valid for animals traveling between Britain and the EU due to, I guess we're not going to call it Brexit. We'll call it Pexit. And for those who are,
they're not going to fucking honor the pets.
And for those who have been, who are like crazy cat ladies and have more than 5 pets, dogs, cats, or ferrets, they'll have to prove that their animals are participating in a competition or event. Other pets, like birds and guinea pigs, are subject to individual countries' entry requirements. They can't get a passport, and they will probably need an EU animal health certificate because they just can't get one of those pet passports. So the lesson here is you can travel anywhere in the EU with your pet passport as long as your pet is a patriotic dog, cat, or ferret. But if it's a treasonous mongoose, then like no.
So not birds. What if you want to travel with your parrot?
Or your peacock. Do you remember the emotional support peacock at JFK
I heard
Airport?
that. I remember that story. Yeah, I remember the story.
The photo was the most amazing thing.
Yeah,
It was like it was on a smart cart.
In Dubai, your big jungle cats cruising in the back of your Maybach, right? It's true. They got like fucking tigers and cougars. I'm not even kidding.
I know
I've
that's
seen
true.
it. It's in Dubai. It's
People
a
drive
thing.
with them too, right?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I see like in the car, this like Rolls Royce or something. It's always an expensive, shake type dude driving an expensive ass car. And then like I look over to look at the car and then I see this giant fucking tiger face where I'm like, oh my God,
I'm
that guy
so
has a
jealous.
tiger.
I want one
Like,
of those.
And then the tiger will like paw at his shoulder, at daddy's driving shoulder, like,
Aww.
what the hell? Oh my God, he's gonna get eaten by his pet tiger. Like,
well, they have a lot of cheetahs too, right? You got to have a lot of room for them. They need room to run. But cheetahs are not really violent. They aren't. They're not that high strung.
Okay, and they don't have rabies. I don't know. So I thought this was a cute story because I
don't think tigers get rabies. I mean, I suppose they could.
Really?
But
I don't know. I don't know enough.
I'd say if a tiger
rabies.
is in your house, rabies is like not the top of your is not your biggest problem.
Yeah, I think
one of my neighbors had tigers. You remember that whole story in Harlem?
No.
Oh, come on. What are you talking about? This was like
tigers in Harlem?
Yeah, it was like 25 years ago. This dude, he lived in the projects and he had a tiger.
What?
And like a full-grown tiger in his apartment. He also had a couple of I don't remember if they were alligators or crocodiles, but some kind of big bitey dude. But anyway, the point, he used to sleep with the tiger, like all like, curled up. Anyway, he bought it as a cub, and the neighbors were complaining about it constantly because they could hear it roaring at all hours of the night.
Oh my God.
And also apparently he wasn't a very good at changing the litter. So the tiger piss reeked and it was leaking through the ceiling into the units below. So
and is it like cat pee where it'll stay there forever?
It's worse, apparently.
Oh my God.
I mean, tiger, it's a tiger, right? I mean, they can weigh like 1,000 pounds. I mean, it's a lot of piss, right? And they're fucking tigers. So anyway, I think this was like an 800 or 900 pound cat. And anyway, I lived about 8 blocks away from this dude when this happened. And so I had a great view of the whole thing. Suddenly there's like, SWAT team, helicopters over the building, and like commandos coming, NYPD commandos coming down the ladders. And it's like all over the news. It's in live, like they break into live broadcasting. Like basically they're here to get the tiger. It's probably somewhere on YouTube. You can, anyway, there's the most amazing thing. The cop rappels down the side of the building. He's like on the 15th floor. He looks through the window, and then suddenly you see the paw swipe at him out the window, just like a cat, like, and the guy, you hear him go, fuck, and he like pushes off and repels off the side of the project. And it's like, long story short, they got in there and they confiscated his pet,
his cat.
It's actually very sad because he was really bereft about this, and they really they had a bond. They were close.
Yeah, but no, Ted. No. First of all, for the animals' welfare, that big cat needs to be out prowling the jungles and running around like the fields, not in a Harlem apartment in upper New York, right? Like, no, that's not number one. Number two, I guess maybe the EU is not honoring exotic pets at this time. So, yeah, okay. So I guess that's a good thing. I didn't know that one of the EU's goals, I did not know that was that they want to eradicate rabies. So I mean, there you go. One of the things that I guess I can agree with the EU. There's not a lot of things I agree with the EU about. So I guess this is one of them. Cool.
Well, I mean, look, honestly, it is an issue. When you travel, like, let's say I wanted to bring Clovis to Canada, it would be a real pain in the ass. And he travels really well. He just sits on he sits up on the dashboard and looks out the front, and or he just curls up on the back seat. He's very chill. He likes to travel, and honestly, going to Canada shouldn't be that hard.
Would you have to declare him if you're driving across the Canadian border?
Oh, I'm sure. I think you have to have him quarantined and stuff.
Oh.
Yeah, no, it's traveling with pets is hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I never travel with my pets, but
obviously most people don't travel with their cats, but dog owners, dogs travel very well, and people love to bring their dogs. So
I never took mine with me. Like I just don't think that's fair to them.
To the dog?
Yeah, like
why?
Put them in a crate and then put them in a crate and then put them in the bottom of the belly of the plane.
Well, first of all, come on, Mitt Romney. He says you put the dog up on top of the roof.
I hated that.
No, I think he told the truth when he said the dog likes it. I think they do.
Maybe. I just.
I mean, not when it's like 5 degrees or something like in Montana, but like but like I mean. Anyway, what do you mean crate? You just have the dog sitting next to you on the seat.
No. If you're in the car, sure. That's how I would.
How else?
My dog around. No, I'm saying in the crate. People put their dogs in crates all the time if they're driving wherever with their pet. And then, especially if you're on a plane, if you're like a big dog, like a fairly large dog, like I've had 2 English bulldogs, they can't go on my lap. You're talking about 60-pound, giant bricks of dogs sitting on my lap who fart and salivate.
I see. I'm a huge animal lover, so it's like even though I don't have a dog, never had a dog. I mean, if someone had they brought their dog and were sitting next to me, I'd be thrilled. I'd be so excited. I'd be like,
that's
oh
what you
yay!
Think. But a dog like
unless
Harley
people are allergic,
my first one,
mm-hmm.
either like Harley or Roxy would have had to go in a crate at the belly of the plane, and I could never.
No, it's not good for them. I mean, they die sometimes.
Sometimes they die. I could never do that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess if you're an EU pet owner, I guess that's a good story that that the doggies, the doggos and kitties can.
Have you ever seen the really famous the cat ID? There was like some cat like back in the like 100 years ago in the U.S. Merchant Marine. Cats had to be reported when they arrived in port in other countries. So there's really cute pictures, like official IDs were issued to the mousers on U.S. Merchant Marine ships. It's really like very, very famous.
Oh no, I didn't know. That's a cute story. So look, see, Ted, nobody can accuse us of being completely, anti-EU because this was a pro-EU story.
Really?
Yeah.
By the way, I'm dropping this into the chat and you're going to see it right now. Take a look at it. It's so cute. It's in the Telegram.
Oh, it's a cat. It's a cat's ID.
But look at his ID. Herman.
His paw prints.
Yeah, he's got his paw print.
How cute is it? Well,
it's from World War II.
Wow.
It's Herman the cat, and his occupation is typed in as expert mouser.
Issued by Captain of Port, Baltimore, Maryland, Herman the cat.
And he was a member of the Coast Guard.
How cute is that? And his paw print. How cute. Well,
right? They were called it was the Sea Cat program.
How cute is that? Issued January 12th, 1943.
But he was and he's immortalized as an expert mouser.
How cute is that?
Herman.
See, sometimes there are cute stories and not like always death and destruction on this show. So there you go. How about that? Anyway, we'll end it right there. We've done enough time. Hard time here, Ted.
We have. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that was a cute story, and I don't want people to say Manila and Ted are hard anti-EU people. It's not true.
Well, I'm a member of the EU. Are you kidding? I'm a citizen of the
but
EU.
you could doesn't mean you're not anti-EU just because you hold a
I'm against the
passport,
EU when they're trying to prolong wars for no reason.
Yes, and let's be honest, the fucking French franc was so much cooler than
it had had pictures of like Moliere. And
it was beautiful. I remember the money because I had French family, obviously. So I remember the money in the 80s. I remember how huge they were.
Mm-hmm. They were gorgeous.
So fancy. I would hold it up to the light, and I was like,
it was scientists and novelists and
I was like, what kind of
painters?
Money is this? But yeah, that money was way cooler than euros.
That would by itself was enough reason not to vote for.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. If you like money style, the style of money. All right. That does it for Ted and I. We'll be back again tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Tomorrow we have Peter Coffin. I'll go ahead and tease it because I know we had him the week before, but some breaking news happened to him in the past week, or happened to them in the past week, involving Blue Sky. So this is kind of a freedom of the press thing, and another, I would say, upheaval on the left, Ted, because this had to do with Peter espousing their views on Tesla terrorism, because Peter owns a Tesla, and all the violence against Tesla owners now, and like defacing of the properties and literally violence at Tesla dealerships. That not only protests. I mean, people are like trying to burn down Tesla dealerships and attack individual Tesla owners. Peter Coffin is a Tesla owner, spoke out about it on Blue Sky, which is the second venture by Jack Dorsey after he sold Twitter, and Blue Sky suspended Peter Coffin's account for saying, hey, don't be violent against Tesla owners. So we're going to find out exactly what the deal was and what all went down. And I don't know, Jack Dorsey's kind of.
Well, all right, we'll take a look. All right, well, so that's tomorrow.
That's on tomorrow's docket. So tune in, hit that like, hit the subscribe, follow, join, all the buttons.
All the things. Do them.
Just hit all the buttons.
Yeah, do it.
Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Adios, amigos.
Bye.
Bye.